Thank you for joining us on the webinar today. My name is Michael Hansen, Program Manager at the Action Innovation Network. Action is a collaborative network of technology business incubators and other entrepreneur support organizations located throughout the New England region. Our network supports startups developing technologies in a wide range of tech industry sectors. We provide a suite of resources for international startups that are interested in exploring this innovative ecosystem as a place to grow their company in the US. Action offers a pre-landing program for international startups that are ready to initiate an expansion to the US or wish to leverage the knowledge and resources in this area to generate new business opportunities. Startups can apply for this program on our website. This is the fourth presentation in our webinar series on topics related to international startups expanding to this region. Today's webinar, Perfect Pitch for U.S. Investors, is presented by Linda Plano, Principal at Plano and Simple. Linda coaches high-tech entrepreneurs on their value propositions and pitches full-time. Linda was introduced to pitch coaching in 2005 when she helped to found and then chair the Ignite Clean Energy Business Competition, now known as the Clean Tech Open. She then became Associate Director of the Massachusetts Technology Transfer Center, where she was responsible for coaching the pitches of inventors in any nonprofit research institution in the state, as well as for helping to produce a dozen major pitch showcases in life sciences, clean tech, nanotech, and other technologies, and 50 smaller pitch sessions. She founded Plano and Simple in 2010 and has had the privilege of coaching entrepreneurs around the world on how to communicate strategically with investors, partners, customers, and others. A few items to review before we start the presentation. All attendees will have their audio and video muted during the presentation. Linda has shared a document with the audience, which you can access from the chat window. The presentation will run approximately 45 minutes. Participants will then have the option to receive coaching on your elevator pitch, followed by question and answer at the end. To use the raise hand function, click on participants on the bottom of your screen, then click raise hand in the participant list window. If you have a question for Linda, please click chat and submit your question there to the host. This webinar will be recorded and posted on the Action website for future viewing. Thank you for presenting today, Linda. We're looking forward to your presentation.
Well, thank you so much, Michael. It is a pleasure to be here. I've known about Action since it was founded, and it's been a long time since I've had the chance to do some work with you, so I really appreciate the opportunity. So, good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are, entrepreneurs. Bienvenue, bon dia, Kalispera, if you are with us from Greece, and wherever else you're from. It's great to have you here. My name is, in fact, Linda Plano, and I have the best job in the world because I get to work with smart, creative, and passionate people just like you and help you make your dreams come true. In fact, I've worked with over 1,000 entrepreneurs over the years, and they've gone on to raise well over $1.3 billion. Today, I'm going to give you the highlights from my tried and true process for translating your value proposition into a compelling pitch for investors, customers, whoever it is that you really care about. Obviously, we're going to focus mostly on investors for today because that's what we're all about. But helping international entrepreneurs come to Boston and do a great job of pitching here is what I make a living doing. So I think we've got a good match going on here. Excuse me. Anyway, so we're going to go through this tried and true process, how to translate your value proposition. If you follow this process with integrity, hard work, and vision, you will have the best pitch for your business that you've ever had. And that is a promise. Okay. So let's rock and roll here. My tagline is, life's a pitch, make yours amazing. And that's because anytime you ask somebody to do something they weren't already planning to do, you're pitching to them. In fact, I have used this process I'm going to share with you for each and every one of these different kinds of pitches, whether you're presenting, pitching, going to a networking meeting, anytime you ask somebody to do anything. And that's how you get to make your life and your pitch amazing, because when you pitch with integrity, vision, and passion, you're more likely to convince people to invest in what you're doing. And that means you're going to be more likely to invest those resources you want. You'll be more likely to succeed and go on and conquer the world and make your life what you want it to be. So if you go online and do a quick search for pitch templates, even just free investor templates, you will get literally millions of examples. So the question might be, why do we need yet another process, template, whatever? Well, my feeling is that do not use a template. I mean, it's totally fine to go and look at Airbnb's successful pitches, or whoever is the big star in your in your particular space. But that's not you. You are your own company. You are separate from them. If you try to duplicate them, then you're not going to be pitching with the authenticity and the integrity that you really want. Tell your story in your way, okay? We just have to make sure that it's compelling to the audience of your choice, okay? That's me. Hopefully I look something like that. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. We have so little time. I mean, I'm hoping some of you would like to do try out your 1-minute elevator pitches at the end. So I'm going to try to leave 15 minutes at the end, but I'm also going to give you the choice if you want more content. So keep that in the back of your mind. Anyway, as you can see here, I've been involved with all kinds of organizations in all kinds of countries, including the MIT Enterprise Forum in Thailand. So even a little bit of Asia there. Wow, that is so not supposed to still be there like that. But anyway, I am very proud of the Clean Tech Open, as Michael pointed out. That's where I started doing all of this. Anyway, very technical background. PhD is in material science and engineering. Bachelor's of degree is in physics. I've been an entrepreneur since the 4th grade, and I have also been a manager from research scientist to CEO of startups and up to VP for new business development in more established companies. So let's get into the good stuff. If we were all sitting in a room together here, I would make you answer this question for me, which is, why is it that we pitch, okay? And usually I will get answers like, well, to raise money, to raise our profile, to introduce people to our ideas, things like that. And those are all true. You should keep those in mind, but I like to think about it like real estate. Top 3 things in real estate: location, location, location. Top 3 things in pitching: get the next meeting, get the next meeting, get the next meeting. There is no other purpose except on the very occasional, once in a billion kind of unicorn stories, you will get a check at that first meeting, but chances are that's not going to happen. People invest in people who they know, like, and trust. Now, nobody's going to know, like, and trust you at the end of a 10-minute pitch, but you can lay the groundwork so that they want to. It's sort of like going on that first date. Yes, I know that's a very tired kind of analogy, but it's still kind of true, right? Because what you want to do on that first date or in that first pitch is you want to be the best version of yourself, right? You want to be honest and have your integrity and be yourself, but by the same token, you're not going to say, oh, and by the way, I got out of jail last week. You know, I'm still living with my mom, or on the other side of things, oh, I'm going to inherit 5 million euros next week. You know, that's the kind of information you wait to share when you really know and trust the person. And that first date, though, you are your wittiest, you're most charming, you get all of the great information out as quickly as possible. That gets you to the second date, and the date after that, and the date after that. And then as you get to trust each other, you can reveal more and more intimate information, eventually leading to getting engaged and then getting married, which would be, of course, getting that investment. The only difference is where if you're getting married to somebody, I think you should have just that one other person. But when you're pitching to our US investors, I want you to have a path, a line of suitors going out the back door of the office where you're getting married, so that of people that you can marry if these people chicken out at the last minute. Okay, that's the big difference. You need to be playing the field even while you are building those relationships. Okay, 3 parts to every pitch I want you to do from now on, every time you pitch for the rest of your life. Number 1, introduce yourself. A pitch is a conversation more than it is a presentation, right? You wouldn't walk into a cocktail party and just start talking to somebody, right? You would say, hey, I'm Linda. yada, 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 right? So always introduce yourself first, even when you've already been introduced, as I was, right? I always do it myself because it changes the focus of the conversation from being something where you're presenting to something like, hi, I'm talking to you. Okay. At the end, number 3, make an ask. I can't tell you how often it happens. I'll ask people to try out their pitch with me, and I wait and I wait and I wait. They never tell me what it is that they need from me, right? If you give a great pitch and then you wait at the end for the investor to have the brilliant idea of investing money in you, then they may well just say, oh, that was really great. Wish you the best of luck. And then somebody else comes along and they make a much less good pitch, but they say, and we're looking to raise $50,000 in order to complete the beta test for this platform, which will lead to 50,000 users in the next 6 months, something like that. And if that fits with what the investor likes to invest in, then they may very well say, really? Well, tell me more about the technology. Let's get together and let's talk later, get that next meeting, okay? Make the ask, make it easy for the audience to do the right thing to help you move forward. In between these 2 bookends, tell me why I should care. Remember how I said that I always listen and listen and listen, waiting for that ask? The other thing that I have to do is listen and listen and listen while I hear about lots of details about technology or about business models or customer acquisition strategies or whatever. And I'm like, I still don't understand why I should be excited about this. How does this fit in my world, in the way that I like to do business? Okay, and I actually break that down to 3 more parts. I guess you're kind of getting the idea that I like numbered lists. Sorry about that, but it's very organized and systematic. So hopefully you'll find that part useful. Anyway, first and foremost, captivate. Capture their attention. Get them excited about what you're doing. Next, validate. When you make those big claims, when you're capturing their imagination, now you have to back that up with whatever data or supporting information you can provide. And then motivate, get them excited about their opportunity to give you the resources that you're looking for. So for instance, when I opened this webinar, I did that very same thing. I introduced myself. I tried to capture your imagination by telling you that I could help you make your dreams come true. I tried to validate that with, wow, those are outdated numbers, 1,000 high-tech entrepreneurs who have gone on to raise over $1.3 billion. This is the challenge with having lots of copies of presentations. I have some tips for you, which we won't have time to get to today for avoiding that. It looks like I need to follow my own advice. Anyway, I also validated it as being a tried and true method. Now I'm still making an assertion here. You'll have to take me at my word and see what you think once you have a chance to really look at it. I tried to motivate you by saying that we're going to translate your value proposition into a compelling pitch for the audience of your choice. And if you apply my process, you'll have the best pitch. Okay, that's my ask to you. Please try this out. See whether it works for you and go out and get lots of money. All right. Now, there's lots of different kinds of asks to make. You don't have to ask for money. In fact, there's an old saying that if you want advice, ask for money. If you want money, ask for advice. So it doesn't hurt to do that, even if they don't seem that interested in your innovation right from the beginning. So fine. Who would be? Who do they know that might be a good fit with your idea? If you're pitching to partners, you might be asking them to sign up for a joint project, but you can also ask them for lots of other things. We're so short on time. In fact, I'm trying to keep an eye. Oh, so short on time. Well, let's just keep going at this point. Okay, so this is the most important piece of information I'm going to give you today. So pay attention to this. I'm asking you to get perfect pitch, okay? And by that, I don't mean I want you to pitch perfectly. It is a waste of your time to try to strive for perfection. Instead, I want you to tune your words for the ears of your audience, okay? So think of perfect pitch as music rather than as you know, sales pitch or a other kind of pitch. And the easiest way I know how to do this is to understand that investors are basically very simple creatures. They make up their minds based on just 2 things, fear and greed. Now, if I'm going to be fair, we all make up our minds this way. It's just a matter of what we're fearful of and greedy for. So in a pitch, You don't have time to teach anyone anything. All you can do is get them so excited about what you're doing that they can't wait to learn more. So everything you say should either reduce fear, oops, or increase greed, or preferably both, or it doesn't belong in your pitch. All right. Now, if you don't like the words fear and greed, if you are doing a social venture or something, you don't really want to think in those kinds of terms, that's totally fine. You can think about it as pleasure and pain, benefits and risks. But I find that fear and greed, since it's such a visceral, old set of emotions for human beings, it's much easier to remember it this way. And so I want you to be looking at every word in your pitch, every sentence in your pitch. Does it reduce fear? Does it increase greed? Does it do both? If it does, keep it. If not, get rid of it. It is extraneous. It is more information. This is how you get down to a 10-minute or a 1-minute pitch, is by eliminating everything that doesn't help you to be even better, even more clear about why they should want to have that next meeting with you. Okay? And again, this all ties into telling your story in your way so that it is compelling to the audience of your choice. So a good question is, who is your audience? There's lots of kinds of investors out there, excuse me. We're thinking mostly in terms of venture capitalists and angels for the purposes of this call. Friends and family and fools is another potential investor for a lot of startups. Private equity for a little bit later stage than most of you probably are. These are investors who are usually thinking first and foremost about what the financial bottom line is first. So fear is, most of us would think of fear is losing money, and greed is about making boatloads of it. But in fact, there's a lot more factors in here, especially if you're looking at friends and family. They're very concerned about relationships, trust. They're actually investing trust in you with the hope for an upside of a stronger relationship, as well as money is also nice. Okay. I wish for each of you the opportunity at some point to pitch to the general public, because that's what a public offering is, right? Or else if you get acquired by a bigger company, every time they sell stock, that's what they're doing. The general public is investing in them. For many of you, your countries will have really great funding opportunities that are non-dilutive, always very nice. People often tell me that, well, I don't want to write for a grant. It takes too long. It's, it's so much paperwork and stuff. But, it's non-dilutive. And the other thing is that all money takes a lot of time. It's really annoying, but nonetheless true. You will be looking at probably 6 months to go from your first pitch to actually winning investment from a professional investor. And that's about the time it usually takes to go through getting a grant, a sizable grant anyway. Okay. Other kinds of investors you might not usually think about, partners, collaborators, employees, anybody you want to hire. You're asking people to take a big risk to come and work with a startup company because it might fail in 6 months or 18 months, right? Or if you're keeping a day job to keep the mortgage in place while you're building the company, you might need to be able to pitch to your employer that, I need this extra time to go and work on this particular project, but you're going to benefit from it by blah, blah, blah. Okay, so these are also investors in you. They're investing trust before they invest money, each and every one of them, I promise you. Now, the missing core piece here is your most important investor, and that is customers, okay? Because if you cannot convince enough people to give you their hard-earned money for your products and services, you don't have a company, and none of these other guys matter in the slightest. So, let's see, make sure that you don't try to use the same pitch deck for every single one of these audiences, okay? What you need to do is to tune your pitch for each of them. What is their fear and greed? I'm just going to skip this for right now, but just, I'll just say quickly that with the investors, we're usually looking for an investment, obviously, but don't forget they're worried about losing time. They actually value time more than money, believe it or not, but they're also afraid, obviously, of losing money and really big, damaging the reputation. And on the greed side, not only do they want to make that 5 to 10 times return on investment, they want to really be the next Google discoverer. And they also want to make sure that their time has been well used. Okay, so on to my process. So it took me many years to develop these 10 questions. I started with 6 and then moved to 8 and finally at these 10, which I find work really well. The issue here is that you've got a very complicated ecosystem going on here, right? All kinds of different factors that have to come in together and work together and function as a whole. And as I'm sure you know, things change every single day. This stuff doesn't stay static for any length of time at all. That's part of what makes it so very hard to pitch well. Um, and to pitch clearly, because you know how important the details are, you know what all the details are, and yet it's almost impossible for you to keep up with them. So you try to explain all of that to your audience, and your audience really doesn't care. That's the issue. An effective pitch is very simple. It is just the key parts of that initial, all those complicating factors. What's the key essence that you can use to communicate so people can get excited enough about it that they want to sit around and understand the nuance and the detail? Let me be very clear on this. The nuance and the detail is critical. Data are critical. But a pitch is not the right place to get into them. What you're trying to do with a pitch is get people interested enough that they're willing to invest their time and eventually their money in understanding that detail. All right. So in my opinion, there are 5 kinds of pitches. You have your business plan, which captures most of that detail on at least for a certain point in time. You need to extract from that what I consider to be the ideal pitch length of 10 minutes. You can cover everything you need to in 10 minutes. I've done it 1,000 times. I promise you we can do it for you as well. Then you can further extract the best parts of that 10-minute pitch down to a 30-second elevator pitch or a 3-minute cocktail party pitch. Or you can do it in writing. An executive summary or a one-pager will work really well for that. And most people don't think of it this way, but your website is actually a pitch, believe it or not, right? It is the most common pitch that people get to see, actually. As soon as they hear about you, they're going to go to your website or your app and say, well, so what is it that they actually do? So take advantage of this whole idea, this fear and greed, and that 10 questions I'm going to be taking you through. Answer one question on each page. Make sure you introduce yourself. Make sure you have a call to action, like sign up for our newsletter, get on the wait list for being a beta tester. Whatever it is that will engage that particular audience. Okay, you're not going to pitch to an investor on a website usually, unless you're on a fundraising site. So you'll want to tune what you're saying to the interests of the customer, usually. Alrighty, so here they are, the 10 big questions. They're nice and simple. Unfortunately, simple is not the same thing as easy. They relate to different aspects of business. So customer, market pain, market size. Then question 2 is about your innovation. Question 3 is your competitive advantage. Number 4 is your barriers to entry for your competition. 5 is proof of concept or traction. 6 is your business model, including customer acquisition. 7 is your financial projections out through liquidity. 8 is your team, that's the leadership team. 9 is your development plan, your value-added milestones that you need to accomplish. And 10 is your budget and or ask, okay? Now, I always get asked how many of these questions, I can't answer 10 questions in 1 minute, and you're absolutely right, that would be crazy. If you have 10 minutes, you can answer, oh, this was also done with the CTO, sorry about that. So it's all 10 questions in 10 minutes. If you have 7 minutes, you can answer 7 questions almost always. And if you have 1 minute, probably 3 of them. Let's see. So you have in that handout, and I've given a second handout in the chat thing that has a little bit more of the information that I was just providing to you. This list is the 10 questions. It is the fear, how do you reduce fear for the audience member is in the first bullet for each of them, and increased greed is the second bullet. So we're going to be going through this. We have so little time. Let's see, we've been talking for about 20 minutes now, 22 minutes. So the first 3 questions are the most important ones. So I am going to take us through those and then pause to see who, if anyone, would like to pitch and get direct but kind feedback. And or if you prefer, I'm going to actually ask you to raise your hands when I get to the breaking point to see whether you'd rather get more content. We'll do whatever you guys want. I'm an entrepreneur too. I want to be responsive to my audience, and clearly I need to get another earbud here. Okay. So question number one, who cares? This is, like I said, the customer, market pain, and market size. This picture is kind of a joke picture. I promise you, when you come to the States and pitch to investors, they will not be that young, nor will there be 2 women for every man. Sorry to say, maybe this upcoming generation, that'll change. But what is really important about this picture is the attitude, right? The crossed hands. Right? I've seen it all before, and actually my first instinct is to say no to everything. And you can't really blame them for that, right? Because as soon as they say yes, their job immediately gets harder. They're also cutting off new opportunities. If they decide to commit money to you, that means they don't have it available to give to the next Google that walks in the day after. So from their perspective, they are looking for reasons to say no from the minute you walk in the door, even if they look a lot friendlier than this. The fear we're trying to reduce is that only your mom and your best friend will buy one each for whatever it is that you're making. The greed is that you will have people lining up out the door in order to buy 2 or 3 or 10 of whatever it is that you're making. Right? You have to be able to show them that there are enough people out there with a big enough problem that they're willing to pay enough money to and have the money to actually buy what your solution is, right? If you don't have this kind of a thing, this is the be all and end all. This is where we start from. And I know if you've got something that's more of a technology push than a market pull, this gets to be a lot harder to justify because you won't maybe have all of the examples, but we can talk about that later if you like. All right, so first and foremost, what we need to think about is who are your customers? You need to define them in some detail. You need to be able to know who they are, what their problem is by understanding what goes wrong in their day. Like the way I like people to go and make their, do customer interviews. And if you haven't interviewed your customers in person, if you've just relied on doing Facebook polls or something like that, I really encourage you, get out of the office and go and meet people who actually will be buying this. And the tendency is to want to walk into that room and say, oh, look at my beautiful baby. Wouldn't you love to buy one of these? I can make it with polka dots if you want. And so the idea is we get so excited about our technology, we want to really discuss that. But I suggest that, and what happens is that people are usually pretty nice and they'll go, yeah, that seems really great. Yeah, sure, if you put pink polka dots on it, yeah, come back and let me know how it goes. Now, if you go and you come back with pink polka dots and they are like, did I say I wanted that? No, you want money for that. No, thank you. So you going to a customer and instead taking your baby, sticking it in your back pocket and say, so what went wrong with your day today? How can what are the biggest issues that you run into? What's costing you money? What's keeping you from making more money if it's a B2B kind of a thing? That will really help you to define clearly who your customer is. I want you to also think in terms of segmentation. Who are the early adopters versus the excuse me, versus what is the word for that? Don't grow old. It's my best advice. But the big bulk of the population that buys after the early adopters have worked out all of the problems. You want to be able to segment your marketplace according to not only the stage of interest in the technology, but also, who's desperate for your solution. Is it a small group of people? I mean, people will come in and show me a pitch where they've got a $32 billion market that they want to sell into. And I'm like, you can't sell into a $32 billion market. It's too big. Who are you going to pick to sell to out of that enormous market? I need you to be focused down a lot more. If you have $1 billion addressable market, I'm more interested in that. And if you have to start with $100 million market of early adopters that you can grow into, not that you're going to penetrate that entire market right away or anything, But if you help me to see how you can start, how you can be focused like a laser on getting the first product out there, and then you'll be able to grow into a much bigger market, that's what's going to get me excited as an investor. I want you to think in terms of bottoms up when you estimate market size as well. And what I mean by that is a lot of entrepreneurs will go out and look for great statistics, market sizes from old market studies or online by just doing searches for it and so on, and they can find billion-dollar market sizes. Well, that's not very hard to do, and it doesn't show any kind of knowledge of what your actual market size is. It shows an ability to do Google searches. So what we need you to do instead is to know who the customer is, know how much they're paying right now today to solve the problem that you're addressing, and how many of them there are. Multiply those numbers together. Now you have a bottoms up kind of a market strategy. And that is incredibly more effective in terms of convincing your audience that you understand who your customer is and that you have a real product to sell to them. Okay. Let's see. Yes, that's the main thing. All right. What I have found over the years when I'm struggling to make a pitch right, the problem is always with question number one. If I haven't done a good job of answering question one, none of the rest of it will make sense. So what I always do then is to come back, number one, what problem am I solving? For whom specifically, okay? It's not good enough to talk about the big general problem. Let's say I want to cure diabetes, or I want to help people who are suffering with diabetes. Okay, that is a huge, huge market, no question about it. But what are you going to do for them? Are you making pain-free shots for people who need to inject themselves with insulin? Are you giving people a detector for future insulin levels? Are you giving them some kind of peer counseling? What problem are you actually solving for what subsegment of all those people who have diabetes? Because you're not going to sell the same product to everybody. Okay. And next, how much are they paying to solve that problem right now today? Because that gives you an idea of how much they're willing to pay to solve it. Okay. And they may not be willing to go any higher. So that's your solution has to be cheaper. Then how are the current solutions failing? I find that to be very, very powerful. If you can put that in while you're talking about the market and why the current customers are unhappy, you can then segue into question two very quickly and easily, which we're going to try to do right now, right after I have some more coffee. Okay, I have 15 minutes for two more questions. Okay, shouldn't be a problem. All right, so question number two, what is it you do in language that I can understand? This is another kind of a joke picture here because you're never going to find this combination of physics and chemistry and mathematics all on the same slide, obviously. And in fact, I should probably replace it. I really love it, so I probably won't. But this is the kind of slide I used to get all the time back in 2005 to 2010, where people would send me these incredibly technology dense slides. Those are very difficult and you should definitely not do this. But on the, I'm seeing mostly stuff on the other side now. Virtually, let's say 80% of my clients when they come to me say, well, we can't, they give me a picture of a sunset or, you know, some cool person on a bike or something like that, and talk about how wonderful their solution is, but they don't they don't talk at all about what their secret sauce is. What is innovative about their solution that's going to makes them exciting and different from what everybody else is doing? And so we've gone from this way over detailed to technical to complicated to information dense kind of slide to one that is completely vague. And I think they're equally bad. In fact, the vague one might be even worse because you're not giving me any reality to be excited about. Okay, so we have to get across what your solution is and as much of your secret sauce as possible. Now, that does not mean that it's okay to talk about what's proprietary. We'll get into that in a second. So the fear we have to reduce here on the part of the investors is that, you know, these are really smart people and they've got exciting technology, but boy, they sure don't know anything about business. You know, they're just pushing a technology out because they and their friends all like it. right? And the greed we want to feed is this is not only innovative, but it's going in a business direction. That's why having it fit in with the who cares question and why current solutions are failing. So here's what's going to really work is such an effective approach to take. So things to do and things not to do is first and foremost, solve the freaking problem. Okay, it doesn't do any good to solve a problem nobody cares about unless you have some reason for knowing that they are actually going to care about it once they discover you. We may not have, well, let's just keep going. Okay, so the big pushback I usually get from entrepreneurs is that they don't want to reveal the proprietary information. In fact, I often get entrepreneurs coming to me and saying, so, well, not often anymore, but often enough, you know, I need the investors to sign a non-disclosure agreement, you know, a contract to not reveal anything about my technology because it's so super secret. And the problem with that is number one, that's not going to help you any. Because nobody is going to sign it. Okay, I don't make investments, and so I'm not a nearly as popular as investors are, and I never sign NDAs. I can't. Neither can investors, because we talk to so many people who are working in similar spaces that signing NDAs would quickly mean I couldn't talk to most of the people of my new clients because I've already talked to somebody who's in a similar field. Investors and we all rely on our reputation for honesty and integrity, right? That's why it's important to make sure that you know something about the investors. Every investor is not created equal. You want to go to one that's got a great reputation for fairness and the integrity of not sharing things around. They're not going to sign an NDA. So I'm still asking you to talk about your secret sauce, right? So the way to do that without revealing proprietary information, because I never want you to reveal proprietary information, not in a first meeting certainly, is to talk about what your technology does to solve the problem, not how it works. Almost always how it works is the proprietary part. What it does to solve the problem, when you sub it in for whatever the current solutions are, that's what's really exciting. So if you can frame it that way, I think you'll find you'll be able to talk about what's exciting about your technology without taking any risks with your IP. And the other way to look at it is it's very hard to speak clearly about this stuff. That's probably the biggest reason that entrepreneurs tell me that there's no way we can even talk about the technology in a 10-minute pitch. You can do it. You just have to make it very clear and simple, very high level. We're not going to dig into any of the details. We rely on analogies and images and graphics and animations and so on. And I just want you to keep in mind that it's really hard to do this. Mark Twain once said that, you know, if I'd had more time, I would have written a shorter letter. It is not easy to take something complex and sophisticated and make it clear and simple in just 10 minutes. But that's what a pitch is all about. And the better you can do that, the more successful you will be. Just recognize it's going to take the time that it takes, and don't start writing your pitch, you know, an hour before you go to the investors. Okay, let's see. Here we go. Yeah, so I always like to, I don't know if any of you are engineers in the audience. I'm guessing probably yes. But I get a lot of pushback that a pitch is, you know, it's just a sales pitch, or there's no content, it's, you know, it's a waste of my time and energy and so on. And I'd like you to try to rethink that. Think of both pitches and other kinds of presentations, technical presentations, as different kinds of tools. Each one is great for doing the job it's supposed to do, and both of them are pretty bad at trying to do the opposite problem, right? You're not going to screw in a Phillips head with a wrench. So as long as you keep in mind that they have different purposes, respect them both, give them both the kind of attention that they need, you'll find that it goes much better. All right, 8 minutes, perfect. All righty. Wow, this is unheard of time management on my part. I'm just so excited. Okay, so number three, why will you win? This is your competitive advantage. Okay, so important to be able to highlight this. People have a tendency to go crazy and say, talk about absolutely everything that's out there, or to go to the opposite extreme and say, oh, we have no competition. So let's talk about that a little. The fear that we're trying to reduce here is that is that, you know, oh, I heard three other companies just like this guy come in the last 6 weeks. There's nothing new here. I don't need to hear this, right? Now, I know you're working on something that's truly different, and you know it, right? You wouldn't be putting all of your time and energy and blood, sweat, and tears and next month's mortgage into this company otherwise, right? But if they don't get it because of the way you pitch it, then it doesn't matter how much better you are because you failed to communicate it. All right, so that's what we're going to talk about here. I need to turn the sound down on my phone clearly. Okay, well, yep. Okay, anyway, I have the word disruptive up here to remind you never to use the word disruptive or revolutionary or conservative. All of those words, when you use them when pitching to investors, are bad things. They are, the problem with them is that they're extreme and they're overused, right? So when they hear it, the first thing that goes off in their head is, oh, no, it's not. You know, I've seen disruptive. I know disruptive. This is not disruptive, right? And they expect entrepreneurs to say their financials are conservative, right? They expect to hear that their innovation is revolutionary. You know, if you tell them, they're not going to buy it. Your job is to make it so clear that they come to that conclusion all by themselves, right? That they say in their heads, wow, this is really going to disrupt that market. That way, they'll not only believe it, they'll remember it. Okay, so super important here, okay? Question number three, focus on the benefits, not the features. Difference between those two is if you walk into a dark room and you flip the light switch, do you care whether the light comes on or what the mechanism is behind the switch plate? Most of us care about the light coming on. So what are the no more than 4 or 5 lights that you turn on for your customer are you better than everybody else at? Okay, that's what you're trying to do. Just no more than 4 or 5 lights you're turning on for your customer. Make sure that you compare and contrast yourself with the whole competition spectrum, right? There's a tendency to maybe only consider the competitors who are just like you. So your direct competitors, the hottest startups that are coming out of the gates, but don't forget about the more boring, but very much harder to beat business as usual case. What is it that people are doing today? So for instance, a long time ago, I had a client with a micro turbine for delivering utility grade electricity on demand. Don't worry about all of that stuff. But he did a great job of talking about all of the competition because he started off with the fossil fuel powered electricity plants, right? That's the business as usual case, the one that he has to be cost competitive with and performance competitive with, right? Or nobody's going to even think about it. He also talked about other microturbine manufacturers, direct competition among the startups. And he also talked about solar farms and wind farms, indirect competition for green electricity on a utility scale. Okay, that's the kind of thinking I want you to do. And finally, a lot of people want, well, less so these days, I guess, but I still fairly often get somebody coming in and saying, yeah, we have no competition. Please don't say that because there's only 3 possibilities. Number one, you're correct. You don't have any competition. And what you're telling the investor is, guess what? I have to develop the entire market, a brand new market and a brand new technology. Isn't that great? No, it's not. That's terrifying. The next possibility is you're incorrect. There is competition. You're just too lazy to go and figure out what it is. And no investor wants a lazy entrepreneur. And finally, you're wrong, but you really do think you're the smartest person on the planet, and so you can't possibly have any competition. And I've had probably 4 people like that over the last 12 years or whatever it's been. And so clearly, if there's 4 of them already, you can't be the smartest person on the planet. Nobody wants to invest in an arrogant person, okay? So instead, you want to be looking for where the real competition is. Now, it's possible you don't have competition in the classic sense of the word. I often get the example of iPods thrown at me. And my feeling, though, is it really that new? I mean, first of all, it wasn't even the first MP3 player. Before that, you had Sony Walkman. Before that, you had, I guess, boom boxes. Before that, transistor radios. And before that, you could walk down the street and hum to yourself. You could always bring your tunes with you. There is competition. It's just a radically better way to do it. So you may have to modify how you market such a thing because it's such a different way of looking at things. But it is, I promise you, people are doing something right now today that is similar in some way. Okay. All right. Now, everybody has seen the matrix probably more times than you want to. Whether or not you show it in your presentation is entirely up to you, but I always create this matrix using my very specific approach to it because it makes it much easier to articulate a simple value, a simple competitive advantage. Okay, so what I do here is the benefits always go across the top, no more than 4 or 5. That will help limit you in that number. But the main reason is because it's, at least in the Western world, it's easiest to read from left to right. It's easier to tell a story from left to right. Second reason is that this way we put all the companies or the technologies in the first column and we get to put you at the top, and that makes you number 1, at least subconsciously. You need to frame the benefits so that you can use an icon, whether you use checks and X's like I did, I don't care, but you need to be able to use just a simple icon to say yes or no, possibly maybe. I don't like maybes. Please don't leave any blank spots in your matrix either. A blank spot doesn't say no to me. It says, oh, I haven't done the work. So make sure there's an entry in every cell in your matrix. But anyway, yes or no, check X, whatever. I don't want to see ranges of numbers. That's the absolute worst. I don't like to see lots of words. I don't like to see anything except for a simple icon. Remember, your audience has like 40 to 80 seconds to see what's on your slide. And if you give them a bunch of stuff they have to look at, plus you're talking to them, what the heck are they supposed to do? You know, they can, are they supposed to try to figure out what's going on in the matrix? Are they supposed to listen to you? Are they supposed to bounce back and forth and get ticked off at you? Be kind to your audience is a really useful tip in my opinion. Always think about what's it going to be like for the person in the audience trying to see this. Now, pushback I will get here is that, well, is it really fair that you have all checks and they have all X's? I mean, this is just unfair. And there is some truth to that. I mean, I do have checks for some of my imaginary examples here. But the real issue here is if you cannot find 4 or 5 benefits for which you are far superior to your competition, what makes you think you're going to win? Right? There just isn't any way. You have got to know where your niche is, where you are going to excel. Now, if there is one thing that all of you do really well, which there better be some aspect in there, I guess, you can definitely open with saying that. And but this is not about telling them about the entire competitive landscape. That's a detail that you should get into later once they've gotten excited about this, but never run down the competition, right? So the way I might pitch something like this is to say, so in our discussions with thousands of customers, we have identified these 4 benefits that they're most interested in. We've got some really great competitors here. This first company has been doing this for the last 50 years. We've got a couple of indirect customers and a couple of startups that are right in our space. But as you can see, for the benefits that our customers tell us are critical to them in changing to a new provider, we are the only one that covers all of them. I've got some strong competition for benefit number 3. We do have a direct competitor for benefit number 2, but that combination of 4 is a space that we own. Okay, that's much nicer to hear for the investor as well than hearing you go, so for benefit number 1, we're really good because of this. And the business as usual case, we fail because of this. They fail because of this. And in the direct competitor, they're not good because of this other thing, and the indirect one because of this other thing, and the emerging, they want to kill themselves by the time you get to the 4th or 5th cell. So tell a story like I just tried to do, okay? are we doing? Oops, I'm a little over time. Okay, so the first 3 questions are the most important. Make sure you always introduce yourself, tell me why I should care, and make an ask. These are the 10 questions: captivate, validate, and motivate. And then what we've covered so far today is the introduce yourself, tell me why I should care, make an ask, and the captivate part of it. Now, at this point, I need to put I left my glasses off, which has been kind of tough here, but all the reflections I thought might be distracting, so sorry about that. What I'd like to see now is for people to raise their hands. And, oops, sorry. Would you like to hear more content about the 10 questions, or is there anybody there who would like to have to do a pitch? And please raise your hand if you would like to hear more of the 10 questions. Okay, I'm not sure whether this is because nobody knows how to raise their hands, or nobody wants to hear more content.
So just as a reminder, if you would like to raise your hand, click on participants at the bottom of your screen. A participant list window will pop up, and then that field will have a raise hand button.
All right, we have a vote of 1. Thank you, Michael. All right, let me put the other option up there then. So Stefano, would you please put your hand down? Or I can do it actually, come to think of it. Okay, so our second option is pitch coaching. Who wants to do a pitch? Okay, well, I guess, oh, Stephen would like to do a pitch. All right, so I'll tell you what, let me unmute Stephen and do the pitch. And actually, hold on one second here. Just in case, what I'll do is I'll coach Stephen. And if we still have time after that, I will start doing some more content. But I did want to say that I've got 2 free options for you to get more information. The Pitch-O-Matic on my website, which is a complete disaster right now. But this is free. You get my 3-minute videos that cover all 10 questions. And if you want, there's a link in the Pitch-O-Matic for 30-minute consults. Or if I can do anything else for you, you can either email me or go to this bit.ly link. Okay. So Stephen, my dear, hold on a second. You are unmuted.
Hi, I'm Stephen.
Stephen, how are you?
Good. I am an engineer. As you mentioned, there are engineers on the line. I actually do not pitch to investors. I work at MID. We are a development agency, product development.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually had a question about pitching.
Okay.
Because for us, it's a little bit different because we sell services and not products.
Okay.
Because we are developing products in collaboration with others. So our clients are probably pitching towards investors. And I was wondering, would that be different in telling a pitch story, or is it similar?
It's all similar because what varies is the audience and understanding who your audience is and what they care about. So I'm not entirely clear. You said that your clients pitch to investors?
Yep. So we develop products. So we work for other companies, big companies like Draeger Medical or Philo in Boch. We develop toilets for them. All these big companies. Recently, we developed a stairlift for Bruno Independent Living Aids, also an American company. We just started here in the US just last year, so it's just me by myself. So I'm all new, all new to this pitching in the US. So Europe versus America is also a little bit different. So I was just interested in to see and understand how it would work for us selling a service instead of selling a product.
No, well, it's the same thing. If you're pitching to entrepreneurs who want to come to the States in order to raise money or build businesses, those entrepreneurs are still going to have fear and greed, right? If I think just globally, the fear is going to be that I'm going to spend a bunch of money with some kind of a group that I don't know whether they've got the integrity or not, or they just want my money. Can they really deliver? You know, if I'm an entrepreneur, my big fear is running out of money before I get to where I need to be to sell stuff, right? And on the greed side of thing is, wow, these guys can really help me drastically shorten the time it takes to get from where I am today to a successful concern in the United States.
Yeah.
So when you're pitching about who cares, for them, their who cares is about the investors you want to help them pitch to, right? That's their customer, in a sense, their customers.
Yeah.
Being able to say that we know the investors, we have successfully been talking to them, we've introduced clients to them, and so on. Now that's more question 5. But yeah, I mean, it just takes a modification of how you think about the answer to each one. So if I were to go back to this, right? So if we're looking, in fact, I guess I didn't really go through these. So why should I care if you're pitching to a customer, to your customer, and make sure you understand who their customer is, or in this case, it's going to be the investor. And so how are you going to differentiate them from everybody else? And you want to identify a big opportunity rather than market pain and size. The pain here is not being able to raise money with these investors that you're going to introduce them to, right? So it's the same thing, you just twist it a little bit in order to make it fit with the audience that you're talking to. Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay, and you don't have a pitch you'd like to try?
Yeah, I have a pitch. We divided, or I'm trying to divide our pitch into 4 different segments. So because we work for multiple things, so I've written one for pitching towards startups.
I should actually hold on for just 1 second. Michael, is this okay with you, or is that because I don't know if this fits in with what the content you want to have on this? I'm happy to talk to you, Stephen, after the call.
Sure.
Yeah. So we're at 10 o'clock right now. So we can, if people that need to go, you can drop off. If there's people that are able to stay to listen to the pitch and coaching, then we can do that. We can do that quickly, and then end the webinar.
Okay. Okay, Stephen, hit me.
All right. So for startups, my name is Stephen. I'm an engineer at NYD, and we are here to help you. We develop products that create impact. We design products that are benchmark products in their field of operation. And of course, I need to specify this once I know who I'm talking to. We offer development support to scale your business. Product development is not easy and will have challenges. We have the experience to support you in any part of this development. In the 30 years that we are around, we've learned our valuable lessons. The product that you will develop will be developed via our structured process, which will help you to get to market. 80% of the projects that we are involved in resulted into a product launch to the market. That's the start of my 2-minute pitch.
Okay, that was 1 minute. Did you have an ask at the end there?
No, but my question would be, what can we do to help you?
Well, okay, fair enough. Okay, so this is a great example for us to use for anybody here, because it's easy to understand kind of a service, even though what you do is really hard to do. Mm-hmm. What I would say is you do what 99.99999% of my clients tend to do, which is you answer question number 2, right? You talk about what we do.
Yep.
So what is different about your approach to it versus anybody else that they could go and get support from?
What makes us different is that we do design and engineering, and we do integrated product development, and that's different to what most of the companies do, where they only do design or engineering.
Okay.
So we combine everything. So what we've been trying to get more clear, but if we say front to end development, apparently that's misunderstood. So that's something we are trying to
No. That's fine. That's fine. I'm just trying to make sure I understand enough so I can do a pitch back to you and see whether we can punch it up a little bit.
So if I would ask just how I try to explain it in birthday parties and etc. We do front to end development and everything in between.
Do you have any big success stories?
Multiple.
Okay, and I guess let's not take the time. Unfortunately, I can't get really into that. How are you cost competitive with other other resources?
Yeah, because we are a global company, we have cost benefits by outsourcing or collaborating with our Dutch office or our German offices.
Great.
Compared to doing it here in the United States, so that's one.
Okay.
And because of we are a global company, we have a lot of expertise.
Okay, great. And you just drove out of my mind the question I was going to ask you. Crap. Oh well. Okay, so. Oh, and are you doing this in person? You know, in a networking kind of an event from the stage or via the web, or how do you do this?
Yeah, all things. So it's
which would you like help on right now?
Yeah, in person.
And just a one-on-one kind of a thing. Yeah. All right, great. Let me get my timer going here. Okay, so hi, my name is Linda Plano, and I am I guess I don't know. Let's just say I'm the CEO of blah, 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 from MIT. I've heard a lot about your exciting new startup, and I understand that you've got technology that needs development and that you needed to meet certain regulations and to be launched in the United States. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay, great. So I know. I'm sure that, like with most startups, that you are struggling with both tight deadlines, short budget, and needing the cutting edge in terms of materials and design expertise. And those things usually come at a very steep price. We're here to take all of those concerns away from you and help you to build the prototypes that you need in very short order, because we are one of the very few places that actually do design and development at the same time. So we can integrate that, make sure that we're in contact with you so we're developing the right MVP for your company and doing it in the time frame that you care about. We've done this with multiple other companies. We're a global organization with a lot of success stories that I can tell you about. Love to talk to you and give you a proposal as to how we could proceed with that. What stage of your company is your product at, and how can we help you take it to the next one? All right, that was a little bit long and wordy. Sorry about that, but I was also trying to make it a little interactive. But you see the difference?
Yeah, I understand it. That's exactly what I have on my mind. But it's so difficult to get that on paper.
Yes, well, I call that job security.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to mute you for now, Stephen. All right. Okay. Well, I guess we are out of time, sadly. But thank you, everybody, for being part of this. I hope you get some benefit out of the handouts. And Michael, is there anything else?
Yes. Thank you for the very informative presentation, Linda.
My pleasure.
Our next webinar will take place on December 3rd. 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. The topic will be about business formation and will be presented by Tim Monahan with the law firm Bowditch and Dewey. You can register for the webinar on our website. Please also download the document that Linda shared with the audience in the chat window. The 10 questions that contains her contact information at the bottom. And thank you very much for joining us today. We hope you found this informative.
Thanks so much, Michael. Good luck, everybody.
Thank you.